Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're very welcome along to the Kokoro Invitational Series here, round number 2 from Barber Motorsports Park in the USA. We had a fantastic round last week, and we're here to bring you even more action from this tight and twisty track here in Leeds in the USA. Adam Hedgecock alongside me in the commentary box, Alex Simpson working on cameras. Adam, a very challenging circuit facing drivers here today.
Oh, absolutely it is. We come from Barcelona, which is very familiar to an awful lot of people to this track, which is more akin to touring car, kind of a little bit go-karty in places. Very, very tricky, incredibly hard to overtake in places. It's going to be a challenge for all of them on the grid tonight.
Yeah, so of course, two 20-minute races facing the drivers. We got the first heat race and then the second feature race, which will be a reverse grid of 20. So the winner of the first race will start in 20th place. And we love this series in particular because of the mix of different motorsports we've got here. We've got so many drivers from W Series, from the Blancpain GT Series, the Lamborghini Series. There's just so many, but they're all in the same car on the same setup, and it's always great to see. So there is the different lists that you've got. You got Euro Formula, FIA Formula 3, British F4. I mean, Adam, where else would you get so many different forms of motorsport going up against each other on a track like this?
I might be really selfish by saying this, but I'm glad that we got a period of isolation for the drivers. It means we get to see this smorgasbord of all different disciplines all coming together. There's many series, many races that have this kind, just people from all walks of racing coming and competing against each other. I think it's absolutely brilliant, and long may it continue.
So at the moment we are just in free practice at the moment. Then we will head to qualifying. So they get 3 laps of qualifying, lone qualifying that is. So currently it is Zane Maloney who's a 1:14.0 for him. Callum Williams is second, and Frederick Vesti. So 2 Formula 3 drivers second and third. Then it's Zach O'Sullivan in fourth. Richard Verschoor, another Formula 3 driver, in fifth place. And then we have Dion Gouda in sixth place. Then Gus Bowders, then Askey, and then Dan Harper in ninth place, and James Pohl in 10th. So a load of different drivers for so many different series. But Zane Maloney currently quickest on a 1:14.0. So we will be heading to lone qualifying for 3 laps. And Adam, 3 laps around this circuit isn't really a lot, and especially with the tires, the drivers have got a lot to do regarding warming the car up and getting a lap in.
Oh, absolutely they do. One thing that I found driving this car, admittedly only novicely, is that the tyres are everything. You really need to get them as toasty as you possibly can, as quickly as you can. Otherwise, it doesn't matter how much downforce you've got. If the tyres aren't ready to stick, you're just going to slide. And round here with all the corners, it's imperative that you get the grip.
Yeah, for sure. So the Kokoro Invitational Series, proudly supported by FP0 Simulators, don't forget. And make sure to join us in the chat as well. Get yourself involved. Make sure to subscribe to the Apex Racing TV channel as well. We are pushing for that 10k subscribers. We're very, very close. So hopefully you'll stick with us for this brilliant race nonetheless. But Zane Maloney, in the Euro Formula driver, ahead of the 2 Formula 3 drivers, then Zach O'Sullivan, and then a couple of GT races. And then, of course, we have the W Series drivers as well. Bicycle Visser, Alice Powell, and Sophia Flörsch as well. Another great racer there. Kai Askey, French Formula 4 in there. So it's great to see a lot of the regional series getting represented here as well. So you'll see the drivers just getting used to following each other around this circuit. Adam, that's so crucial as well, especially on lap 1, that you get used to having a car in front of you and behind you.
The corners they're not easy here, as we've alluded to. They are particularly tricky in places, and trying to pick your braking zone can be incredibly tough. So when you're tucked up under the wing of a car in front, you need to have the confidence to know that you're not braking too late. You're definitely not braking too early. But I mean, we've got a great caliber of driver in here. So if you are braking too early, you're gonna lose places left, right, and centre. So yeah, getting that practice in, following closely, great idea from the guys that are doing it at the moment.
Just look at Kiffin Simpson, US Formula 4. So plenty of regional series, as I mentioned. French Formula 4, there's British Formula 4, now the US Formula 4 Championship represented here. As now Simpson heads down this really tricky section. It's so easy to lose the car. They're bouncing over the curbs, then back up the hill at the back of the circuit. Just going to ride on board it now as he heads through this little S right here. It's very difficult to get that right in a GT car, but the Formula 3 just negates it with ease right there as we run downhill again through this really tricky S's up over the hill. You can't even see over it till it's on top of you. A little bit on the grass there as you head through to the last couple of corners there. It's very easy to actually miss time and go straight on into the pit lane, which I've done quite a lot in various Formula 3 races as well. Down to the last corner now, and then down the hill, so you'll get an idea of what the drivers are facing with turn 1. And Adam, a downhill turn 1 is not always ideal for these cars.
Absolutely not. I'm more of a touring car kind of guy, so that downhill turn 1 doesn't pose too many problems for the cars that I drive. But certainly in these kind of cars, you're losing grip anyway. Dropping down the hill, easy to lock brakes. It's going to be tough. I don't envy the guys. And again, the final turn, as we saw on board just a moment ago, very tricky to actually nail a braking point. There's not a lot of reference. It seems to keep going for a long time, and before you know it, you're at the apex, and you're either carrying too much speed or you've nailed it. Really, really tough for sure.
Yeah, and as well as that, the elevation changes around here are just incredible. It's almost like you're always guessing what's coming next when you're looking over the hills around here. As now Kevin Simpson completing his second lap. He's just coming up to the end of his second lap here. It's still Zane Maloney quickest, and then Callum Williams and Frederick Vesti, Zach O'Sullivan, Richard Verschoor, Dion Gouda, and then Bowers, Kai Askey, and then Dan Harper and James Pohl as Alfred Nilsson just pops into 10th right there. So, Maloney from Barbados coming through the last corner, looking really, really quick at the moment, with just 7 minutes left of free practice. So it's the last kind of opportunity for the guys to do race runs. And the reverse grid we always like to talk about, because the reverse grid really mixes up the action, because you've got guys who are who could have just dominated race one. They've got to try and negotiate their way through the field, which again, Adam, is a really big trait of a racing driver, is like just completely changing your driving approach to get yourself through the field at the start of a race.
It's one thing being able to put the hot laps in, clear in front of you, but fighting your way through a very talented field is something entirely different. We saw last week Vesti run away with it in the first race, absolutely dominated, but was not able to work his way back through probably as much as he'd like to. I mean, he did put on a good show, but it just shows how tough it is. You get bogged down behind a couple of cars for a lap or two, and all of a sudden you're running out of time. And then do you take the risk of making some ballsy moves, or do you just try and coax out what you can? It's a whole different kettle of fish, and that's what makes it so exciting. And just a reminder, 20 is the golden ticket, isn't it? Finish 20th, and that puts you on pole for the second race.
And that's certainly going to come into play in the battles down the field, guys fighting for that 20th place, which would normally not be a position you really want to be in, but it'll give you a good position for the feature afterwards as well. And as well of guys starting further down the field, they've got to think about, of course, this Formula 3 damage model, which is so vicious if you get it wrong. Of course, you'll see plenty of tires flying, front wings coming off with just even the slightest contact. And just there you can see the different license ratings as well. So you can see the higher the I rating, the better, of course. And so you got all the way down to D and rookie even for Alice Powell, and all the way up to A for Kai Askey. B licenses across the board mostly, and a lot of D licenses with just under 2k I rating. So obviously the I rating system displays how clean you are as a driver, quote unquote. Not necessarily always, but it's certainly a great indicator. And now we just look, a couple of guys fighting it out here. Gus Barber's British GT, just following in behind as they run down the hill. 5 minutes to go in free practice, and Zane Maloney currently looking like the man to beat, Adam.
He does, yeah. It's a sterling effort, a 14 flat. I do wonder if in quali trim, maybe he can duck into the 13s. That'd be pretty special, wouldn't it? But just a note on those I ratings that we saw. As you can imagine, this, the way that the current climate is in the world, there's a lot of real-world drivers joining iRacing. They've only been doing it for a short amount of time. To be up to speed, how quickly they are is amazing. Let's be real with that. The fact that they can get in these cars and just drive around in anger and still put in amazing lap times is a testament to them. So yeah, don't read too much into the D licenses and B licenses. They're still talented drivers regardless what license they're running. And we, like I said last week, we saw some great racing, so we know that we can just take those licenses with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, so we, as you said, plenty of new guys getting involved, thanks to us all being stuck inside at this time, and especially sim racing has been a fantastic outlet for a lot of us to escape the constant gloom and of the news of coronavirus going around. But it's just been great to at least have some form of motorsport on our screens for us to watch, and it's just been great seeing all these pro drivers getting involved. And especially, my favourite thing, particularly, Adam, is guys in karting going up against guys in Formula 2 and Formula 3, for example. It's brilliant.
Well, you know what? I was just about to say that. We've got some very talented young drivers here. I think the youngest is around 11 or 12 years old, I think. Do check that. But yeah, I believe it's around 11 or 12. Which is just amazing. I've just had a little whisper in my ear. Apparently it's 13. Well, I was close. 13 years old. Even so, they are, they're giving it a go. They're racing against maybe people who they idolise, maybe people who've inspired them. And it's great, you know, they get a chance to flex their muscles, and they can say in years to come, I remember that time I beat so and so in such a race. You know, it's a great thing for them to be able to do, and have a chance of doing.
Yeah, and it's almost a look to the future, perhaps, of a future scouting ground for future teams, having a look and seeing how the young characters are performing against the single seater drivers, and whether they've got the racecraft. Because it's always a great developing ground, sim racing, of learning racecraft, learning how the cars work, learning how to give each other space, and learning how to brake and all this kind of thing. It's all transferable, which is what we love so much about it. But we're coming to the end of practice now very shortly. Hugo de Vilta gets it stopped, goes back to the pit lane. But yeah, 2 minutes to go, and then we'll have a 3 minute, a 3 lap long qualifying. Excuse me. So the drivers have three laps to try and get their fastest time. And as you all know, the iRacing X system. So if you run off the track, you'll invalidate your lap, or if you make contact or spin, you will lose the lap time. It will become invalid. So it's all crucial. But you could have guys starting further down the grid to maybe try and grab the reverse grid pole, just maybe negating the fact that they're going to do well in race one. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Zay Maloney gets on versus Callum Williams and Vesti, because as you mentioned, Vesti absolutely ran away with it last week.
He did, yeah. It's going to be competitive. It's going to be incredibly tight. It's very easy to make a mistake at this track. So just putting those 3 laps together is incredibly difficult as it is. So yeah, and don't rule out anyone really. To be honest, I mean, Gauda run well last week as well. Vashore again is another quick guy. To be honest, any of these guys could possibly take pole position. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Scrolling through the chat, plenty of support for Frederick Vesti, for Beitske Visser as well, who's down in 15th, just behind Sophia Flörsch. And yeah, it's always great to see so many different people supporting their drivers, even if Motorsport is not actually on at the moment. But we come to the end of free practice now, and we will head to lone qualifying. As we mentioned always, that they have 3 laps to get their lap perfect. And it's always so tricky, especially around a circuit like Barber, where if the slightest mistake pushes you wide, and that's it, your lap is done. But you've got pretty much a lap to get yourself warmed up. And I think, Adam, you'll probably just get rid of the first 2 laps altogether, because you're still going to be warming the car up.
Yeah, I think it's you kind of approach qualifying in these cars a little bit like NASCAR. You know, you almost sacrifice 2 and a bit laps just to make sure that you're in the right zone to really make the last one count. You know. So yeah, I mean, we can see the amount of aggressive weaving going on already from Gauda here. Who's really kind of working those tires hard. You were saying, you know, it's easy to run wide a little bit. A lot of these corners, they kind of lead into other corners, don't they? It's a little bit momentum based here, so you need to be making sure you nail the first part of any little complex just to get you through the rest of it in one piece. Yeah, I keep saying it. It's very tough, and these guys, they've got to go and do the business now, haven't they?
Yeah, for sure. So we just look at Billy Monger as he rounds the last corner to begin his first lap, and see how he gets on. So here we go down towards turn 1, and you can obviously see the sectors coming in already as we head towards turn number 1. See how Billy Monger negotiates this one, throws it in up and over the hill for turn 2. Great overtaking opportunity on lap 1, especially. You can really make the outside work there if you carry momentum. Down on the hill and back up through the kink at 3, and down the back straight into the hairpin at the end of it. Downhill as well, very easy to lock it up down there. Down another little back straight, and then into the very tricky braking zone for the chicane that leads into an immediate hairpin right with massive curbs on either side. Let's see how he negotiates this. Hopping over the curb, trying to not hit them too hard because it will damage the floor of the car. And then a nice little flat out section for the guys right here, down through the S's, keeping it flat. And the GT cars don't handle that particularly well. Formula 3, with ease, it handles it. Then through the downhill and uphill S's, curving to the right hand side. The camber slightly helping you there as you run uphill, and then a little bit of a twitch from Monger there as he heads through the last sweeping right and then into the little kink at the left to finish his lap, and we'll get the first indication of who is where on the board right here. James Pole currently who's 155. We're looking for times around the 114 and 113. So across, and it is going to be 5th place for Billy Monger at the moment, but it's Dion Gouda with a 114.9, Zach O'Sullivan 2nd, and then Kai Askey, Paul Aaron 4th, and there we go, 114.8 for Zane Maloney is currently quickest. But Adam, we have another 2 laps to go, so there's still plenty that can change.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think at the moment they're just kind of getting a feeler for it. I know it's a fixed setup. I'm not sure if they can take any fuel out at all for qualifying, so they might still be running with race fuel, which adds another challenge to the mix. Of course, first lap round, they're just getting the banker, just getting their eye in. I think maybe we might see a quick 1 or 2 this time round, but certainly we're waiting for the end of lap 3 to really see the quick times flow in.
Yeah, as we saw in practice, it was Maloney with a 114.0 who was quickest. So Dion Gouda, can he on his position? We're going to get the second indicator now as they all come across the line. Watch for all the movement on the timing tower as we come across. Vesti 5th and James Pole 114.6. He goes fastest as now we watch Paul Aaron through the last corner. How's he going to negotiate? So coming across the line, Zach O'Sullivan quickest by 600 at the moment. Paul Aaron across the line. It's not really an improvement. It's not a good lap from him, actually. So he comes across. Zach O'Sullivan, James Pole, Zane Maloney now 3rd. Dion Gouda is 4th. Now we look at Callan William as he approaches the back of Sector 2, and Richard Verschoor 114.45. He's currently quickest now. So the drivers are now beginning their final lap. Some of them on their 2, a big slide from Callan Williams through the hairpin right there. And Frederick Vesti, the outright winner from last week. How is he going to negotiate this one? But it's Richard Verschoor. And Frederick Vesti had 9th. It's actually brilliant that we get to see the Formula 3 drivers. They have a real rivalry in all these Formula 3 series. It's brilliant to see.
It kind of adds another little bit of spice to it, doesn't it, when they bring their real-world rivalries to the sim. Always fun to see. I know that a lot of these races are raced in very good spirits, and it's all done in the correct way. But I hit the inside curb big time. That has certainly put paid to his last lap. Has it for Vesti? That's it for his qualifying as he's gone back to the pits.
So we still have a few more to go now. There's still Verschoor from O'Sullivan. Dion Gouda is now 3rd. Zane Maloney pops 2nd by just 700. That's it. That is it for the qualifying for him. So we're waiting for the last couple to come across. De Vilde goes 8th, and Sophia Flörsch is 9th, and then Simpson is 10th. So then we have Gus Bowers who crossed the line to go 7th fastest, 114.7. And then Alfred Nilsson, he comes across a 114.4. That should pop him up to 6th place. And it does indeed. So he pops ahead of Frederick Vesti, just behind James Pole. But nothing improving. Callan Williams with a purple first sector. He's looking that he needs to improve his position, really. He's a long way down the grid. We saw him having a big twitch out of the hairpin. So here he comes, around the last corner. See how the Australian negotiates this. Through the last corner, Callan Williams, can he get himself inside that top 5? He's looking good. It's a personal best in the last couple of sectors. He comes across. It's a 115.5. And, well, it's even better. It's a 114.5. Callan Williams 2nd, but still not enough to displace Richard Verschoor, who claims pole position. And Dion Gouda is not going to improve. And a big spin through the last corner for Marius Zug, who was on a flyer there. But Richard Verschoor by 400th of a second ahead of Callan Williams and Zane Maloney. Less than a 10th between the top 3. This is going to be fun.
Well, it's less than a 10th between the top 3. Less than half a second. It's 4 tenths between 1st and 10th.
Wow.
That's nuts. That's we said about it before. These guys are on it, and there's nothing to choose between them. I'm really, really looking forward to the race now. Seeing those times.
Yeah, and it's gonna obviously be brilliant when we get to that reverse grid race. We've still got the first heat to negotiate first, which will be coming up in due course. So we're just waiting for the time to tick to 8 minutes as the last cars have done them. So 20 minutes of a heat, and then a 20-minute feature with the top 20 reversed from the order they finished in Heat Race 1. So that would mean that the winner would start in 20th position, which adds a new element to these races, which we love to see, and it always provides for some fantastic action. But it's for sure who pops himself onto pole position, and Callum Williams in second. So there's two FIA Formula 3 drivers on the front row of the grid. I think this could get a little bit feisty.
I would like to say, let's hope so. I was saying before we saw Vesti have that incident that, I like the fact that some of these rivalries are coming to the sim as well, and that despite it being a fun surrounding for them, an event to keep their wits sharp and keep their focus, they still want to beat each other. They still want to be number one. Which is brilliant. It just adds more to the racing, doesn't it?
Yep, we had actually thought we'd reach the end of qualifying, but we still have Paul Aron on track, who's still negotiating his way around. So it is a 10-minute qualifying. We've about a minute and a half left in this. So Paul Aron is the last car left on track. Let's see how he's just going to finish out his lap, I think. I think he must have been stopped on track or something, but there's your provisional qualifying results, unless Paul Aron can pull off a miracle as we come through the last corner, and he will cross the line. He will start 20th, and if he can hold that place, he will be on reverse grid pole for the second race today. But it's going to be borderline whether I think he's just going to be able to finish his last lap. But he's now finished his last lap. So we're ticking to the end of qualifying now. Richard for sure, Callum Williams, and very, very close to the end now. So hope you're all enjoying at home on Apex Wrestling TV. Make sure you subscribe if you are new. You are watching the Kokoro Invitational Series presented by FP0 Simulators. So we get ready for the first heat race, and we're very excited to see who's going to come out on top in it, with so many drivers from so many different disciplines taking part. And it's been it's looking, going off last race and what we've got in store for today, it's looking to be an absolutely fantastic climax to the championship when we eventually get to that last round.
Absolutely, it is. Last week we did see some great battling. We did see a few incidents that I'm sure the drivers will want to not have this week. Teething problems, new to a series, it will be tough. But good racing for sure, and I don't see it stopping anytime soon. The session has just finished, and here is your grid.
Well, Richard for sure lines up on pole position next to Callum Williams, who's second. Zane Maloney is third, and Zach O'Sullivan is fourth. There's just a tenth of a second between all those guys. Dion Gauda finishes in fifth. James Poole qualifies sixth. Alfred Nilsson, Frederick Vesti on eighth place. Then it's Gus Bowers and Kai Aski rounding out your top 10. Outside your top 10, Ugo de Vilda, then Sophia Flörsch, Kyphon Simpson, Dan Harper, Billy Munger, Beitske Visser, Nicholas Crutzen, Lawrence Hoopen, then James Wharton and Paul Aron are your top 20. Justin Arsenault, Miguel Costa, Oliver Rasmussen, Logan Custom in 24th place. There's a lot of cars on the grid, and we've got to go. And the lights are about to come on for the first race of the night. Lights out and away we go. It's a good start for sure. Good start from an even better one from Williams, who gets the run on the outside lines. They run towards turn number one. Round the outside, Callum takes the lead of the first heat race of the night. Zane Maloney looking up the inside already as they head to turn two. Looking up the inside. Not quite going to be able to get there. Callum Williams with a fantastic getaway for sure. Maloney, O'Sullivan, it's Gauda, James Poole, Nilsson, Frederick Vesti down in 10th. Looks like there's been a problem for Aron and Rasmussen further back. But looking further back, they've all managed to get through unscathed. No big problems for anybody, but a brilliant getaway from Callum Williams there.
What a start that was. Instantly on it, very brave under the brakes. There was an incident in the background, which means that the top 12 have got a bit of a gap now, a couple of seconds back to the chasing pack. But what a start from Williams. From Williams. That was pretty special, wasn't it?
They're nearly going four abreast in the background as they try to sort themselves out as they run through. It's Williams, and now we look back, that is Vesti leading the train of Alfred Nilsson, Dion Gauda, and looking up front for sure is already trying to look up back up the inside, but Nilsson to the outside and the back as well. There's a lot going on, but Williams holds on for now, and it's Maloney, O'Sullivan. So the top four have broken away a little bit now as they try to sort themselves out, and now it is coming to the end of lap number one of heat race one. There's a couple of cars who've been involved in this. You can see them in the pit lane on the left-hand side as we run across. But it's Williams for sure, Maloney, O'Sullivan, Poole as they come across the line. Then it's Vesti, Nilsson, Gauda, Bowkers and Kayaski Then outside is Hoopen and Sophia Flörsch. So a great battle lining up already. As we look back to this battle, Dion Gouda, Alfred Nilsson, and Frederik Vesti, who's trying to pull away from these guys. But it's so hard to break away from a slipstream train here.
It is indeed, and I would imagine the guys just behind Vesti are thinking, go on, you drive like you did last week. We'll tuck in behind you, drag us up to that front group, and then we'll get involved with the battle up top. But yeah, there's still a little bit of gap between Flörsch and Harper. That gap has grown just a touch, but again, I would imagine that Harper will be keen. Oh, bit of contact there from Gouda. Go into the back of Nilsson.
He mistimed his braking there to coming through there. It gets into the back of Nilsson. A bit unfortunate for him there. Just locked up, went straight into the back of him. Now we look back to the front as Verschoor is all over the back of Callan Williams as they come to the end. He's left himself vulnerable, and there's always a contact, and off the road goes Richard Verschoor as Maloney gets into his rear as they go through the last corner there. There was not a gap there for Zane Maloney, but he just a little touch of the front wing from behind, and round goes Verschoor, and that's cost him a chance at the heat race win. So unfortunate.
Verschoor was so close to actually clipping Williams there. Yeah, just there, that little touch. And then, I think that's what caught the other guys out behind. Verschoor trying to recover, and just a little bit slower on the apex, wasn't he? Just got tagged round. Really unfortunate. It's one of those, isn't it? You have to check up because of the car in front of you, and it just means the cars behind are that little bit unprepared. And unfortunately for Verschoor, it puts paid to his challenge in this race.
Saw James Pole trying to go and move on Zach Sullivan. That's left him vulnerable. Eric Vesti, who looks up the inside as they run through the chicane. He's going to run off the road as James Pole. He's trying to hang on to that car, but he just loses it. Keeps it on the road, but he loses the position to Vesti. Great car control from James Pole, but a bit audacious on the brakes. He just manages to keep it in line.
That was some rodeo stuff, wasn't it? He got some air and everything, but yeah, as you've said, great car control to rein it back in and get himself facing the right way. Vesti really he's on it, isn't he? He's looking punchy, looking racy, wants to bridge this gap. He's trying everything he can, but at the moment it's just not quite working out for him.
Yeah, Lucas Hoopen in 7th place. He's up 11 places from where he started, so he's doing a really good job. As we now look back to this battle for 10th, as Dan Harper has made it up to 10th place, but Logan Coulson has made it up 13 from where he started. He's had a great run so far. But as we run through turn 1, he's trying to look up the inside of Dan Harper, the BMW Junior. Not quite able to do that there. But currently, just to keep you updated on the reverse grid pole, currently it's Billy Monger who's sitting in there fighting with Nicholas Cruton. So that is what is in store. But we have 17 lap race. Don't forget 20 minutes or whatever we get first. Now Dan Harper, he's defending from Logan Coulson, who's in 11th place, trying to look on the outside. There's a little bit of a twitch from Nilsson, and there's a car around up ahead or behind that they try to sort themselves out. But Coulson now looking on the inside of Dan Harper as they go through towards the chicane. I think Harper's not just good, he's just going to let him through there. There's no way you can go side by side through there, as we've seen, as Nilsson got caught up in an instant earlier, and James Pole trying to go side by side lost it through there.
It looks like Harper's got a little bit of wing damage, doesn't it? His front left is a little bit wonky. So I'm just wondering if that's, we can look him back from the wing now, you can see it just there. I wonder if he's just struggling for a little bit of grip. As we see, who was that just going up the inside of Harper?
Oh, Hoopen's off. Hoopen was just off in the background. He was the guy who gained so many positions. He's lost the rear wing. That's big impact for Lawrence Van Hoopen, who was up running in the top 10. Let's see if we can see what happened here. Just going to look back at see what Van Hoopen, what happened to him. Just running up the hill. Just gets on the grass. Simple accident by himself, and that's cost him a really good result there, but that's just so simple to do.
It's probably the easiest mistake to make here, and the two cars around him, very, very lucky. We saw them just whiz by the screen as he was spinning. But yeah, easiest one on the track to do, that one. Just run a little bit wide. The camber drags you out onto the grass, and you're trying to get on the power and rear-wheel drive. You're just going to be spinning it up and going to that inside wall.
Yeah, so out front it's still Callan Williams with a second gap over Zane Maloney. Zach O'Sullivan latched onto the back of Maloney, and Frederik Vesti a second off of those guys. So they're all still very close together. They're all kind of bunched up as we head on to lap number 6 of 17. 6 minutes into this 20-minute race. And remember, the top 20 do get reversed at the end. So currently in reverse grid pole is Billy Monger in 20th, but Richard Verschoor is trying to recover from the earlier accident as now Zach O'Sullivan really starting to threaten the back of Zane Maloney. He's got within 4 tenths and fastest lap of the race. Frederick Vesti behind, who's on a charge.
O'Sullivan was very quick last time out as well. Very racy, pretty concise with the moves that he made, and we're seeing the same here. He's just dragging Vesti a little bit towards him. Vesti just a touch over a second behind. These two have got previous. They did battle quite a lot last week, but yeah, O'Sullivan he's just focused on that rear wing. You see how much curb they take. Oh, who's that in the middle of the road?
Oh, that was very
not what
close.
You want to see.
Yeah, that was extremely close. Not quite sure who that was, but that was very, very close to ending in disaster. And it's Lawrence Van Hopen again, it looks like, who's dropped it. We'll have a look and see. So he's got the car repaired, gets down the hill. Oh, no, it wasn't actually. So there was contact with James Pole, gets put around, and it's just a car in the background. But yeah, O'Sullivan. So Miguel Costa it was who dropped it there. So they were very lucky to get away with that. I was just looking at Costa here as he comes down the hill. Just so you can see the rear end just losing there. He spins it around. Pole has to avoid, and Van Hopen gets into the back of him. And then here comes Callan Williams to avoid it as well. They all got away very, very lucky with that one.
They did indeed. Just a reminder for the people that are watching, these drivers do get one fast repair, which means that if they do cause some significant damage to their car, they can go back to the pits and essentially get a fresh car, get the wings and such repaired, and get themselves back underway to keep them in the race. But unfortunately, I think for Gouda, was it Gouda? That was his second car, I think, already. Possibly, but yeah, it's unfortunate for those involved, but at least we've got race 2 to look forward to, Phil.
Yep, and I'm not quite sure what's happened to Zane Maloney, who was running second, is in the pit lane. So there's been a problem for Zane Maloney, and he is now in the pit lane, out of this race, apparently, because Callan Williams is leading. Zach O'Sullivan is second, and Vesti's now third. So whatever happened to Zane Maloney, we didn't see, but there's been an issue for him, and he's dropped off. And now it's James Pull and Gus Bowers who are battling for that 4th place. And Kai Aski's 6th. Sophia Flörsch is up to 7th. So fastest lap of the race for Zach O'Sullivan. And it could have been just after when we were watching that replay that Maloney could have just had a problem or something. But he's now 15th, and he's ended up back, interestingly enough, just behind Richard Verschoor, who he made contact with earlier.
It's funny how those things come around, doesn't it? We often see that people that have had incidents together, they do end up on the same piece of track again. Let's just hope they don't have the same issues as they did last time. We can see on the interval tower, the field is quite spread out. All the white numbers there indicate that they are over a second apart. We do have Wharton and Simpson were pretty close there. Wharton just getting the move done, but yeah, the field is pretty spread now because of those incidents and because of the technical nature of this track. It does kind of spread the field out a fair bit, but yeah. That said, incidents can happen really quickly here. Whether it be you dropping it on your own or whether it be cars coming together, you're never out of the race until that checkered flag goes.
I just seem to have gotten information that I think Maloney actually received a penalty for that contact with Verschoor. So I think he had a 30-second penalty or a drive-through that he had to take. That is what has dropped him down to 14th place, back to around Richard Verschoor. So we reckon that's what's happened. So he obviously got a penalty for that contact earlier with Verschoor. So that leaves Callan Williams clean out in the fronts. Then Zach O'Sullivan, Frederick Vesti, James Pole, and Gus Bowers were still battling out there. But Callan Williams, he's holding that gap nicely, and they're all nicely spread out. But I think they're just going to hold position for now. But at the moment, reverse grid pole is Van Hopen, who is in 20th place, 16 seconds behind Costa, who is a ways off. But that's currently reverse grid pole for now. But we're coming to the end. We've got 9 minutes left, or another couple of laps left to go as well. So it's going to be pretty much spot on the 20 minutes that we're going to get to. Then we reverse the grid, as we mentioned. But it looks like Callan Williams is just completely untouchable out front. He hasn't put a foot wrong yet.
Now, I've learned, Jack, that we don't say things like that because we have the tendency to curse the drivers. So he's doing an average job. He's driving mediocre, and it's just slightly better than everyone else. No, he's driving brilliantly, isn't he? He's hitting every apex. He's using as much of the road as he possibly can. You see him here. He's just trying to break the toe a little bit coming down this short straight. Yeah, he's looking really good. I've run out of superlatives at this moment in time. He's just keeping the car so clean. And the trouble is, for O'Sullivan and Vesti, they're really quick. We know they're quick, but they're not gaining, and they're driving brilliantly as well. You know, you see how much they're pushing. It's great to see these guys just being so flawless at this moment in time.
Yeah, exactly. So we're just looking at the lap times. They're just matching each other to the hundredth constantly through each lap. Just it's O'Sullivan's gaining marginal, but Williams is just managing the gap now. He's just doing enough to make sure that O'Sullivan just doesn't get the toe. Frederick Vesti's not far off as well. He's right there at 1.1 off the back. There he is in the red car in the back. James Pull is 3.5 up, but he's got his own problems because he's got Gus Bauer who's absolutely latched onto his rear in 5th place. As you can see, there they go through the last corner. Just see them battling it out, but there's a personal best for Williams, and look at that, the top three 1:14.5 across the board for all of them. That's why they can't gain any position. They're just matching each other lap time for lap time. We go back to the battle between Gus Bowers and James Pull, and now it's the battle of the GT drivers. We've got the battle of the Formula drivers up ahead, but now we get to see GT drivers going at it in Formula 3 cars. It's always interesting.
Like we said at the top of the show, it's brilliant that we can experience this. You know, the different walks of racing lives all come together here, and it's kind of funny, isn't it, how they all end up grouping together. It's almost ironic, you know. They don't want to be racing the same people in sim as they are in the real world. They, you know, fancy something new, different challenge, and they end up on the same piece of tarmac as people that they might well be racing in the real world as well. Ironically, that penalty. It was for contact with Bashaw, wasn't it? And they end up on the same piece of tarmac again after the penalty. So yeah, nice bit of irony with that one too.
Yeah, obviously almost worked out perfectly for the penalty to take its effect. But Richard Bashaw, who was out in the lead, is now all the way down in 13th place. And all is not lost. Remember, there is the reverse grid wave. We look at Sophia Flörsch now. Is on the back of Kayaski. She's up 5 places from where she started now. I think Kayaski it's a back marker, excuse me, that is a back marker. So you just see Kayaski, the number 15 car, just a little bit ways up the road there. As we see Frederick Vesti starting the fastest lap of the race now, so he's now starting to put a charge on the last couple of laps here. So Sophia doing a nice job in that position. Dan Harper, who's just gone around the outside, I think, of Zug there, who's fair play to him. He's made up 16 places in this race already, as Zug, but we'll have a look and see if we can see that move from Dan Harper.
From a long way back, yeah, it seems that Zug had some issues coming into that penultimate corner. Maybe locked a brake, just run a little bit wide, and that gave Harper the opportunity. And well, you don't need to give Harper 2 bites of cherry, does he? He will take it on the first attempt, and now he's going to try and run away.
Zug just got him back, I think, because Zug just gone around the outside of him at the bottom of the hairpin, so he's got him back. But it's doing it back to him, so he's back to 10th now. As now, as we can see on the timing tower, Frederick Vesti is putting on the charge. He's 0.7 of a second off the back of Zach O'Sullivan, and there's the fastest lap again. He's lighting up the timing screens. He's on a charge. James Pull on a personal best in the back, but now we're seeing the Dane really starting to put the pressure on Zach O'Sullivan in second, and starting to put the pressure on his Formula 3 comrade Callan Williams in the lead of this race at the moment, with laps 13 to 17, 5 minutes left in this race, so we might reach the 20-minute mark before we get to the end. We'll see as we cross the line. Vesti up 5 positions where he started, so he's in a good spot at the moment, and he's now crucially in that toe of Zach O'Sullivan.
0.4 quicker than Williams that time by the start-finish line. Vesti's really starting to turn the screw now, isn't he? Putting the pressure on O'Sullivan. What do you do if you're O'Sullivan? Do you keep with your pursuit of Williams? Do you keep focused on the car in front, or do you shift a quick glance to your mirrors and keep one eye on Vesti? It's if anything, this is going to play into Williams' hands, I feel.
If they start to battle hard, yeah, for sure, it'll really start to help him. Here they come through the last corner now. Just see how close he's got now. He's 0.4 of a second. as they run through the last corner now. Gus Bowers has managed to overtake James Pole as well in the back. So I think Pole has gone around, so he's gone wide or something, because he's dropping down the field like a stone as we run through the first corner. And we look back from the car of Zach O'Sullivan, who's now got Frederick Vesti firmly latched onto him. And now the question is, does he let Vesti fight with him, or does he just let him through and see if he can latch onto him and catch up to Callum Williams? Look at Vesti from a long way back, just showing himself in the mirrors. He's trying to put O'Sullivan off through that corner. So he runs down the back straight here, so there's a couple of opportunities for him. But he's actually running out of time is the crucial thing. He needs to make the move quickly, or does he just hold on and see what happens if O'Sullivan can start to mount the pace on Callum Williams up front. But keep you updated on that reverse grid pole as well. It's still Van Huppen who's on course to take that one in 20th. But Vesti, it's going to be interesting to see if he can make the move at all, because O'Sullivan seems to be holding that car in the right positions, holding those apexes. And again, as we know, Adam, it's very, very difficult to overtake here.
Oh, it is. Absolutely it is. Fortunately, we don't have the same issues with aero washers as real-world scenarios. Sure, you do lose a bit of grip, but it's nowhere near as extreme as what we see in some of the Formula racing in the real world. So Vesti can stick nice and close. He can gradually get that little bit closer. And then maybe, if he can get a good run out of this uphill right-hander, maybe have a look down the inside of the hairpin coming up at the end of this straight.
So we think Gus Bowers and James Pole obviously had contact, because the two of them are into the pit lane now, which has promoted Kai Aski up to 4th and Sophia Flörsch into 5th. So those guys have really gained a lot of time as a result of that. So those guys are either serving penalties or repairing. So we can just try and see if we can see. We look at Gus Bowers. That is James Pole up ahead. So let's see what happened to him. Just look at the inside there. Oh dear. Yeah. I think there was definitely space there, but the two of them just came together, and unfortunately that has cost James Pole and Gus Bowers an opportunity to gain a top 5 finish.
It looked like Bowers had such more speed, a lot more momentum coming back down that hill, and I think it just took Pole a little bit by surprise. I think he didn't see it soon enough, and he's just tried to close the door, and it's just that touch too late, and unfortunately for both of them, it meant contact and put pay to what was great runs for the pair of them.
Yeah, unfortunate there, but that he rejoins in 9th, does James Pole, and Gus Bowers just exiting the pit lane now. But all that has brought Richard Verschoor to the cusp of the top 10, and Dana Harper up to 8th, and Arsenault in 6th. So there's guys gaining from keeping their nose clean. We're coming to the end of this race now, and it could potentially, the checker flag could come out on this one right now, because the timer's ticking. It's going to be very close, but Callum Williams coming down the hill. Vesti is absolutely piling on the pressure on Zach O'Sullivan, as you can see, as they run down the hill. And even O'Sullivan is starting to just try to close up in the last dying moment of this race, trying to close up to Callum Williams, who's flying out front. He's led every single lap of this race. He didn't even qualify on pole. He got an amazing start, went around the outside of Richard Verschoor. But now Vesti is having a think about it through there to run up the hill. 10 seconds left on the clock. It's going to be really close whether they're going to get across the line. I don't think they are. So I think the checker flag could come out on this one as they run through the last corner. Yes, the checker flag is going to come out. Callum Williams from starting in second round the outside. He wins heat race 1. Zach O'Sullivan holds on to second after a late charge from Frederick Vesti, who gets third. And now Kai Aski will cross the line in 4th, and Sophia Flörsch with a great 5th place as well. But Callum Williams, it all came from the start.
Amazing start from him, as you said. We saw that O'Sullivan did get a little bit close towards the end of that lap. I wonder if Williams got his timing absolutely spot on. I wonder if he saw how long was left, figured, you know what, it's going to take me X amount of seconds to get to that line. If I just ease off just the touch, we could finish the race now and there would be no problems. If he did that, that's a 2000 IQ move right there.
Yeah, I'm sure these guys already have that in the back of their minds. So just waiting to see who's going to cross the line for 20th and see who's going to get their reverse grid poles. Now we're going to reverse the grids and make it even more interesting. So we're now going to put Callum Williams in 20th on the grid and see how he gets on. So we now just looking at James Wharton, who is going to be 20th. He's going to be on pole position for the feature. So he's going to cross the line and he will be on the front row for this one. And it's going to be really interesting to see how they get on. So we have a quick warm-up before this as well, and then we have another 20-minute race, 5-minute warm-up, then a 20-minute race to see who's going to take the overall for the second round of the Kokoro Invitational, presented by FP0 Simulators. So a great one from Callum Williams, a good drive from Zach O'Sullivan as well. So here's your official results. Callum Williams finishes just half a second in front of Zach O'Sullivan. Frederick Vesti is third. Kai Askey in fourth position. Sophia Flourish finishes in fifth. Then it's Justin Arsenault, Marius Zug, and then Dan Harper, James Pohl, and Logan Cusson, Dion Gouda, then Richard Verstor, who got caught up in contact earlier, Gus Bowers 13th, Conrad Lawson 14th, then Zane Maloney, Nicholas Krutin, Ugo De Vilde, Miguel Costa, who we saw spinning at the bottom hairpin and having to take some avoiding action from the other drivers. Lawrence Van Hopen in 19th, and then James Wharton will be in 20th. Alex Powell, Frederick Lubin, Beitske Visser, Billy Monger, Paul Aaron, Kyphon Simpson, Alfred Nilsson, who we saw get punted around, and then Ollie Rasmussen in 28th. All these guys potentially non-finishes for those guys. But a great heat race won, and it looks to be fantastic for the reverse grid, because now we've got to get Callum Williams, see how he gets on. But starting in 20th, let's see if he can get the same start as he did earlier, then this should be a good one for him.
Absolutely, it could be a good one for any of those front three. They showed some amazing pace, although they didn't really do too much battling. So now's the chance for them to really shine. They've shown that they can take podiums and drive well. Now let's see how good they are at overtaking. This is the fascinating one for me. When the grid gets switched around, it asks a totally different question of the drivers, and it should be very, very entertaining.
Yeah, so just having a look, Gus Bowers did receive a penalty for that contact with James Pohl. That's why he was in the pit lane earlier. So now Callum Williams, totally fantastic race from him. Again, he was helped out a little bit by the contact between Maloney and Verstor behind him, but he still had to hold off a late charge from Vesti and O'Sullivan. He had to avoiding action from a spinning car on the bottom hairpin. So 5-minute warm-up for the guys to get their eye back in. And I always like to just on the warm-up particularly, it's actually, I think, an extremely useful thing for the drivers, because I actually think it allows the drivers to actually calm down after a race and just get the heartbeat lower and get them focused again.
I'm glad it's not just me that suffers with high blood pressure and adrenaline and everything with these races. Absolutely, just a little. It's not even a warm-up, isn't it? Like you say, just a cool down 5 minutes just to reset their focus. You know, they might not have had a particularly good race, or they might be on cloud 9 at the moment. Either way, they need to refocus, get themselves back in the zone, as we see a big old spin there from Conrad Lawson. Well, that's a lot of damage. Fortunately, that's the pit crew are incredibly quick in these series, so they can get that car sorted and they'll be back on track. Well, he's leaving the pit lane right now.
It's always the beauty of sim racing, isn't it? You can just hit reset and get a brand new car without having to getting that telling off from the team boss. But it's going to be fantastic as we get to the end of this warm-up, which should really be named cool down after a race like that. So obviously, all you watching at home, if you wouldn't mind taking this time to subscribe to the Apex Racing TV channel, keep up to date with all the racing action, and you are watching the Kokoro Invitational Series, brought to you by FP0 Simulators, with all these fantastic pro drivers that are racing with us tonight. Always nice to have them with us. So we're just now looking at Billy Monger, just leading James Pohl, who got punted around by Gus Bowers in the earlier race. So Billy Monger, of course, I'd be interested to see Monger's setup, of course, because he has to race with different controls to the rest of us. I'd like to see how he's able to what his simulator setup with regards to hand controls is. It'd be very interesting to see that.
Agreed. It was only last week I was saying that he is an inspiration to so many, and from a personal standpoint, it's actually quite an honour to be able to commentate on his racing, because of the great work that he's doing and showing people that anything is possible. But yeah, with you, I would love to see what his setup is and how he's going about this.
Yeah, for sure, and it even shows that he's just as quick in the sim world as he is in the real world. So yeah, it's always a lot of the guys are as quick as they are in real life as well. But obviously, it's great to see them going up against each other. So we're coming to the end of of the quick warm-up, 5 minutes, and then we're going to head to a 20-minute reverse grid race, which will be absolutely brilliant. And with judging off the action we had last time, I'd strap yourselves in. So we're coming to the end of warm-up. It's going to tick to the end, and we will go to the grid for this 20-minute feature race as, oh dear, Billy Bunker flipping wildly through the last corner there.
See, it's the curse. It's the curse.
Yeah. So there, ticket to the grid. We now have a look. So James Wharton starts on pole position for the reverse grid. Lawrence Van Hopen second. Miguel Costo, Ugo de Vilde, Nicholas Crutzen, then Zane Maloney, who started sixth now. We know how quick he is. Conrad Lawson, Gus Bowers, Richard Verschoor in ninth, interestingly. Then Dion Gowda next to him. Logan Cusson, James Pull in 12th place. So a couple of guys have got some work to do there. Dan Harper, Marius Zug, Justin Arsenault, Sophia Flourish, Kai Askey, Frederick Vesti, Zach O'Sullivan, and Callum Williams are your top 20. As we now go green for the feature race. James Wharton with the getaway from the line. Van Hopen trying to get up alongside him, but it's a great start from Wharton as they head towards turn one. Van Hopen trying to go around the outside, not quite there. Miguel Costa trying to go behind him. Ugo de Vilde up the inside, trying to take third place. Ready spinner for Conrad Lawson. He's going to go in the middle of the field. They all going to have to take a pointing action. That's going to get messy as they all try to check up and avoid. There's a couple of cars involved right there. That's a terrible place to spin the car, and they all try to get through there, but it's Wharton from Van Hopen, Vilde, and Costa to contact with Nicholas Crutzen as they come through the hairpin at the bottom of the hill. But Zane Maloney has surged through to fifth place already as they try to sort themselves out. A little bit of a messy one, all triggered by that car spinning in turn one.
It's so easily done as well. We've seen it before, but he did the right thing. He held the brakes and just hoped that everyone was going to get round him. Fortunately, not many people made contact. There was a couple of cars that I saw that might have clipped him, but fortunately, I think most people got through. But yeah, what a start from Wharton. Hoopen just behind was blinking a fair bit, as he still is now. Nothing worse than not really knowing where your competitor is. Hopefully, you get that sort out as this race progresses.
How about that start? Oh, that's Van Hopen around at the top of the hill. It's a very strange place to lose the car at the top of the elevation change. But yeah, he probably possibly got whacked possibly due to the blinking there. But yeah, James Wharton leads. Ugo de Vilde is now second. So Maloney, Bowers. How about that start from Richard Verschoor? He's up to fifth already. Costa, Pull, Zug and Gowda. Then it's Dan Harper, Frederick Vesti, and it's a bit of, something's happened to Callum Williams as well. He's now in the pit lane, so he's been involved in some contact as well. It's not gone the way of the Heat Race 1 winner, but a fantastic start. Richard Verschoor and Frederick Vesti, who have now made up almost 10 places from where they started. And for sure, he is going to be really wanting to recover from his terrible Heat Race 1 where he got punted around. Now let's have a look. So now we can see what happened to Callum Williams. Possible.
I wonder if he's just one of the cars that clipped. Oh, look, he's just been forced onto the grass.
Yeah, unfortunately. That's unfortunate for Callum Williams. Out of the Heat Race 1 winner, has just been forced onto the grass, and now that's put him down completely out of contention. And now it's James Wharton, Ugo de Vilde, and Zane Maloney, who remember qualified in that top three in the first Heat Race. But Richard Verschoor is charging behind as well, and it's going to be interesting to see those guys go side by side. But now we'll go on to lap 3 on board with Zane Maloney as they come across the line to start lap 3. See who's going to come out on top in this one, and Gus Bowers in fourth, Richard Verschoor fifth, and then Costa and James Pull behind them. Now Maloney trying to search for a gap. Fast lap of the race currently held by Richard Verschoor in fifth place, who is right on the back of this train. So there's a big old train happening right here. Biggest gainer, Ollie Rasmussen, up 13 places where he started, and it's a bit of a look from Maloney. He loses on the brakes. De Vilde has to leave him a little bit of space right there, but Maloney really wants to get past him quickly.
We know how quick Maloney is, and boy, was he leaving the braking late there. Fortunately, Wilder just gave him a little bit of time, a little bit of space just to sort himself out, and they both carry on. But don't rule Verschoor out. He's got a point to prove after race 1, and I think that he's going to be wanting this more than any other driver at the moment, I would imagine.
Maloney's looking really racy behind. Here he comes up the side through the S's. He has a look. There, Gus Bowers, you've got to watch for him in the mirrors as well. He's right there. Over the hill they come. Coming through the tight right-hander. One of the lap cars getting out of the way. It's Conrad Lawson up the inside. Zane Maloney with a late move on the inside. That was brilliantly done from Zane Maloney, catching de Vilde on the hop right there. Up the inside. Now let's see if Gus Bowers can also capitalise on that. He's right up the inside. He's showing himself in the rear. He's not quite, but a brilliant move. Zane Maloney, fair play to him.
Brilliant driving, absolutely brilliant driving, and the kind of move we expect from Maloney. Really committed to it, and he just asks a question, doesn't he? He says, "I'm going to put my car here. What are you going to do?" And there was no reply, and Maloney gets the place. For sure, I think he might have got a slowdown, as we're going to see a replay on board with Maloney here.
Yeah, I think that's just after he made the move. So that's him across the line. But again, it was brilliant. It was just a little dive up the inside and just showing himself there, and he gets through, and he now leads this race. Here we go. That's how we'll tee it up from here. So he just gets right on the rear, and he says, "I'm going to try and find some space here." Just finding the space right there. De Vilde was not expecting that at all, and he goes straight through.
To be honest, it's not really an overtaking spot like a traditional one. You have to brake incredibly late there, and you have to put a lot of faith into your competitor. As we see, for sure get back past Bowers. I think for sure had a slowdown on the last lap, which is why he lost the place to Bowers in the first place. He did fall off, but he's back on it now, is for sure, and he's back up to fourth place.
Yeah, and he just replicated Maloney's move right there on Bowers. So he went straight up the inside. James Pull latching onto the back of these guys as well. So now it's for sure chasing after De Vilde, and Maloney is now chasing the lead, and he's chasing after for James Wharton, who's led every lap so far, but he's got some work to do to keep these guys behind, because all these guys are so close. They're in a massive train, as you can all see them. They're filing through in the back. Zach O'Sullivan's trying to make his way through as well. He's up to 9th now, and of course Callum Williams has fallen down the order. Gus Bowers now trying to get back past For Sure. For Sure going to touch wide there. He tries to keep himself behind and chasing after De Vilde. But Maloney now within half a second as they come up here. There is Callum Williams about to get lapped by these guys. He's just up the road. Just get a glimpse of him there. But Callum Williams is going to be absolutely fuming with that one. As now Wharton has got an eyeful of Zane Maloney, and he's going to be a very hard man to keep behind.
No, absolutely, he is. Maloney looks like he's on a bit of a charge in this race. What a difference a race makes for Williams, though, isn't it? He was dominating the last race, and just about to be lapped in this one. That train, by the way, goes all the way down to about 7th place with Costa. He's only about a second behind Pull at the moment, and then there's a couple of seconds back to Vesti, although Vesti puts in the fastest lap of the race so far that time by. Vesti's maybe going to get himself involved with this group as well, although with only 20 minutes of this race available from start to finish, he's running out of time pretty quickly.
Yeah, Maloney getting ever closer to the back as we look back at Ollie Rasmussen, who has just been overtaken by Paul Aaron. He's up 12 positions where he started. He's not done a bad job as Ollie Rasmussen. He just gets the door shut on him there by Paul Aaron. So falls down, but back to the front as Maloney is all over him as they run down the back of the circuit here, up the hill through the last couple of corners. Is he going to do what he did earlier as he tries to follow Wharton here, running to the last corner? Is he going to try what he did earlier? Yes, he is, up the inside. Wharton opens the door for him, and Maloney replicates what he did 2 laps earlier. Lovely move, and he takes the lead.
Maybe it's becoming a traditional overtaking spot. What do I know? Maloney, what a move. Take a bow, Maloney. That's twice you've done it, and there's just no response to it. By the time you realise what's going on, he's already passed you. Such a great move, such commitment. Maloney driving for the win now.
Yeah, now it's going to be hard. So now it's going to be For Sure needs to get past. Let's see if we see that move again. Now, so he tees it up right from here at the top of the hill. He realises he gets the run over the hill. Wharton thinks, he's behind, he's not going to try anything there, and goes, wait, he has. So Wharton leaves him the space and tries to get a cut back on him, but Maloney was already ahead, and it's really brave to try it there, because you've got to trust the car not to turn in ahead. But now For Sure needs to get a move on if he wants to try and keep with Maloney. He's stuck behind De Vilde, who's putting on some good defensive driving right here. So we got about 10 laps in this race left to go. We'll cross the line next time. And unless For Sure starts making moves now, it's going to be very hard to catch up to Maloney later.
These guys are so evenly matched, aren't they? You're almost relying on a mistake from the guy in front just to give you that little edge to be able to get a move done. Unless you can engineer something yourself like we've seen Maloney do. If you're unable to do that, then unfortunately, you're just going to be stuck in the train, aren't you? Although for sure it is a lot closer coming up to turn 1 this time by.
Yeah, for sure. Really trying to get up on the back of De Vilde as well. We've got to watch out. We've got to keep an eye on Frederik Vesti as well, who's lighting up the time screen. He's starting to latch onto the back of this train as well. And he's catching up to Costa, who's 2.4 seconds. There is Frederik Vesti, who's trying to get past Miguel Costa here. And he's been putting in some really hard laps. They're both up 10 places. Well, Vesti's up 10 places. There he goes, up the inside, not wasting any time whatsoever. Costa leaves the door open, and Zach O'Sullivan's also trying to follow him through in the back as well. These guys started all the way down in 17th and 18th, respectively. So, good move from Vesti, and De Vilde is still trying to keep for sure behind, but it's only a matter of time, I think.
I'm with you. Yes, I think it is only a matter of time. I feel that Costa was very generous with Vesti there. Vesti came from a long way back, and Costa did allow him the room to make that move. But we can see for sure he's weaving around behind, isn't he? Just trying to take the attention of Vilde. Catch a glimpse in his mirrors, just put him off just a touch, trying any trick he can now just to get a move done.
Absolutely. So for sure he needs to get past, because Wharton is losing touch with Maloney. He's on second off now, and he's going to lose the draft, which is all cars. He sets a personal best, but it's not enough, as Maloney is still lapping in the 14s, and the only man who's matching him at the moment is the man in 7th place, Frederik Vesti, and he's not even on the back of this train yet, and he's got a bit of work to do to catch up. So we're on lap 9 of 17. Maloney's 1.1 ahead of Wharton. De Vilde still holding on to 3rd place well, but he's got for sure Gus Bowers and James Pole all behind him, and Wharton is doing a nice job. He started on pole for this one, but he's got a lot of talent sitting up behind him. He's itching to get past, and Maloney is starting to check out.
He is indeed. We saw from the practice times that Maloney was lightning around here this evening, and you kind of feel that Wharton now is just the cork in the bottle, isn't he? He's driving magnificently well. Let's not take anything away from him. He's putting on a stellar defence, and he's rightfully in 2nd place at this moment in time. But he's got some quick guys behind him that are really trying to get the pressure on him, because they want to go after Maloney.
Yeah, absolutely. I could see De Vilde was trying to tee up a move. That's similar to Zay Maloney, but that's left him vulnerable to for sure, who's right on him, as you can down to having a think about going further to turn 1. They set personal best, both of them 1:14.6 for those guys. James Pole's contact, he gets sent around. Ugo De Vilde, he's driving so well, gets a punt in the back from Richard for sure into turn 1. So unfortunate. De Vilde was holding on to that 3rd place for all his life, and he just gets a touch in the back from for sure. And now there goes Gus Powers on James Pole.
You see a replay here of Vershaw. He's right up behind the back of oh, look, there it was. Yeah, just Vershaw was just a little bit too late on the brakes. He was so eager to get the move done on De Vilde that he just couldn't get it slowed down enough. I do fear that will end up with a penalty for Vershaw. That was pretty much a slam dunk as we look at it through Stewart's eyes. But yeah, such a shame. That was going to be a great battle, wasn't it?
Yeah, unfortunate, but James Pole did not manage to get that move done on Gus Bowers. Get to stick behind, but Maloney 1.6 in front. Wharton's still there. He's gone wide though, as you can see through the corner. Now it's going to put for sure right on him as they come to the last corner, but he gets a better run. So for sure needs to get past, but there could be a penalty coming his way for that contact. So we've got to wait and see. So there could be anybody taking this punt in, but watch out for Frederik Vesti. You can just see him, a glimpse of red in the background, a flash of red as he catches up. And he's 1.1 off the back of this train. I wouldn't count that a podium for Frederik Vesti just yet. He's driving great, but Maloney is just flying. 1.8 seconds out front already, as Wharton is just unable to keep the pace. For sure, Bowers and Pole are all right with him, and he's going to have to put up some amazing defense here if he wants to keep these guys behind.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah, Vesti is he's looking good for a podium. He has. Oh, there's more contact as well.
For sure got into the back of Wharton in the bottom hairpin, and it's happened again. It's the 2nd time there's been similar contact, and Wharton gets sent around by for sure. So I punt in the back again from for sure. Too late on the brakes, and he's done the exact same thing.
your heart goes out to Wharton, doesn't it? He was driving so well, and then that happens for sure. This is not what we're used to from him. We saw him driving brilliantly in the first part of this race. What's happened? What has happened to him?
Must be just he's pushing too hard to catch Maloney, who's now 3.2 ahead. But look who's caught up to this train. Frederick Vesti. He's now right on the back of him. I told you not to count out a podium. He's right there. Also, Zach O'Sullivan is on his tail as well. He's right behind. But Wharton, he's holding on to that 6th place. He's still there, so he won't catch out a good result. But himself and De Vilde, who've both been sent around by for sure, and a bit of a look from Vesti down the hill. James Pole is in that podium, and a big oversteer moment for Vesti. How on earth did he hold on to that one? Full lock to the right-hand side, but he's pushing hard, you can see it.
The reactions of these guys, I can only dream about making saves like that. As we see a lot of smoke, someone locked up coming down into this bottom hairpin. But yeah, what a save that was from Vesti. My word, the reactions were sublime. And yeah, he's right on the back of Pole. I think this could be a podium for Vesti right here.
Yeah, for sure. If he can get past, that is, and for sure, we're almost certain there's a penalty coming his way. We'll wait and see, because he's got James Pole to worry about, who's right on him, and Vesti's right there too. Zach O'Sullivan is putting the pressure on Vesti as well, so we don't got to catch him out. So there's a big train, 4-car train for the podium here, as Zane Maloney has checked out 3 seconds. Callum Williams down in 16th has set the fastest lap of the race. That doesn't mean much now. But we come across the line to start lap 13 of 17, and James Pole putting on the pressure to for sure as they come through turn number 2. They're all together as they try to sort themselves out in this big old train for 2nd place. James Pole, GT driver, versus a 2 Formula 3 driver. He's sandwiched in between 2 drivers who are more used to this car than he is. So it's interesting to see how the GT driver is going to fare against these really experienced Formula 3 guys.
We touched on it last week about the karting guys here. You know, they'll take very different lines to the Formula 3 drivers or the W Series driver. You know, they take a lot different approaches to corners, and how would they kind of match up on a track, you know, together at the same time. And unfortunately, everyone seems to get it sorted out, don't they? And we're just seeing that it doesn't matter what you race in. If you've got talent, you've got talent, and you're able to drive a car fast, no matter what it is.
Yeah, and Pole, and there goes a move from Vesti. He's trying to do what Zane Maloney did. He's quite able to do it because James Pole compromised his line, trying to get up the inside of for sure, and that's given him a little bit of breathing room here, as now Vesti's got a good run on James Pole down towards turn 1. Don't think he's going to be able to make a move work there, but he's going to hold on for now. Zach O'Sullivan is just biding his time in the back, just holding on. But we did say the gap was 3 seconds before, but for sure has pulled an immense amount of time out of Maloney. It's now 2.4 seconds, but we think for sure it's got penalties coming. We're gonna wait and see. There goes Vesti with a look on Pole up the inside, and can he get that done? It's not quite going to be able to. Pole holds it on the outside for now, but he's under severe pressure from Frederick Vesti as he pulls to the inside line now. He's going to be able to go up the inside here. He's going to have a go. There's going to be how is there not contact there? Vesti had to really back out of that one. They're locked up the rears. How did they not make contact?
Vesti got incredibly lucky right there. That was insane. That contact should have been made, but somehow they didn't. O'Sullivan right on the back of Vesti now because of that. Notice a couple of times going into the hard braking zones, Vesti's been really twitchy. He is pushing like crazy at this moment in time. But now he's got to think about defending because O'Sullivan is right on his rear wing.
Yeah, O'Sullivan had to think about going around the outside there, but he backed out of the move very quickly. And I tell you what, Richard for sure is flying. 1.9 he's brought the gap down to Maloney as they come across the line. 1:14.5. He's nearly 0.6 of a second quicker. A lap is for sure. So this could be interesting. Remember, these two came to blows in Heat Race 1. So we've got something interesting in the pipeline if he manages to keep that pace up. But there's not a lot of laps left. So don't forget about that. But Vesti is trying his best to get past James Pole. He's not able to do it there. There is for sure 1.6 he's bringing it down to now. So is Maloney managing the pace, or is for sure putting on it? There goes Zach O'Sullivan in the back. We're just catching him as he looks up the inside of Vesti. Is going to be able to get it stopped up the inside. Going to have a look and see. I think he has. Yes, he has. Zach O'Sullivan has got the move done on Vesti. Vesti tried that on Pole earlier, but O'Sullivan pulls it off. Nice move.
Vesti's going to be kicking himself right now after all that pressure he was putting on Pole. He's now down to 5th place. He's not going to be happy with that. We're going to see a replay of the move. as they're coming out of the hairpin at the top of the hill. God, side by side almost straight away, aren't they? And O'Sullivan goes really early, just puts his car almost banging wheels. Oh, a little bit of touch in there. O'Sullivan forces his way through, and Vesti had to back out of it.
Yeah, really nice job from Zach O'Sullivan there. Really put the pressure on. As now a personal best from Richard for sure, as he pulls the gap to 1.4 seconds now. But the gaps is not coming down as quickly as he would have liked. With just 2 laps left to go, lap 16 of 17, and still Zane Maloney, who is 1.3 seconds ahead of Richard for sure. No penalties coming his way just yet. You could see it coming yet after the 2 contacts, but 1 second behind James Pull. Zach O'Sullivan now 1.2, and he's embroiled in the battle. So now this battling may allow James Pull to hold on to that podium, as now they fight it out for 4th in the back. Ugo de Vilda has made it back to 6th place after getting sent around by Versure. We're going to keep an eye. So this is exactly what we want to see. It's Formula 4 versus Formula 3. So the 2 single-seater categories that pave the way to Formula 1 is British Formula 4 versus Formula 3. And Vesti's having a look. He really wants to get past Zach O'Sullivan, but this is such an interesting battle.
It is. O'Sullivan is going to be pedaling as fast as his little legs will carry him at this moment in time.
Oh, Maloney's going to win this. Actually, it's ticked to 20 minutes. Maloney is going to hold on for the win. Just about, for sure, with flying, and he crosses the line for sure 2nd. James Pull in 3rd. Zach O'Sullivan is going to hold on for 4th. Vesti in 5th. Ugo de Vilda is going to finish 6th. Zug in 7th. And Curtin, this contact in the last corner. Aaron gets sent around in the last corner, and Horton is going to hold on for 9th place. So Paul Aaron ends up in the gravel in the last corner. Billy Munger, is he going to be able to grab 10th? Not quite. He's trying to fend off Dion Gauda, who's going to finish just behind him as they cross the line. It's going to be very close, but Billy Munger holds on for 11th place by a 10th of a second over Dion Gauda. Weizke Visser is going to cross the line in 30th. Then Kai Askey in 49th. Poor old Callum Williams finishes in 15th place. Then Alex Powell and Dan Harper. There is Callum Williams. An unfortunate day. He won heat race 1. It's been a disaster of a heat race. But Zane Maloney, how about that for a drive? Great overtaking manoeuvres, and he's got the job done. Wins the feature race.
And a deserved winner. We saw the moves that he was making, and yeah, best driver on the track for this second race. No questions about that.
No.
To see Williams, not what you want to be doing on the last corner.
He's not going to finish. That's before the line. So Callum Williams is not even going to finish. As he drops it on the last corner, piles it into the wall, and that's race over.
Isn't he?
That's a DNF for Callum Williams. Unbelievable. On the last corner. That's not what we wanted to see, unfortunately, but Zane Maloney is your winner for this one. Richard for sure is a provisional 2nd place, and James Bull is going to be 3rd place. And yeah, a great race otherwise from Zane Maloney. Just some brilliant overtaking, opportunistic as you like. And for sure, he came from 17th or 18th, so he did a good job to get back to 2nd. We'll have to wait and see. There was contact with De Vilda, and there was contact with James Wharton as well, who got sent around by him, so we'll have to wait and see on the results if he's going to get penalised afterwards. But we'll wait and see. But yeah, overall, 2 great races, Adam.
Action-packed, wasn't it? This is what we hoped for, and that is exactly what we got. It just flew by, put my teeth in so quickly, as we can see your round 2 results on the screen.
So Zane Maloney with the number 1 on his car. Round 2 of the Kokoro Invitational Series brought to you by PE0 Simulators. Richard for sure in 2nd. James Pull gets a podium with a great result there. Zach O'Sullivan 4th. Frederick Vesti ends up 5th. Ugo de Vilda, who held on to 3rd for so long, he finished 6th. Marius Zug in 7th, Nicholas Kreutz in 8th, James Wharton, who held on to the lead for so long, he ends up 9th, and Paul Aaron in 10th, Billy Munger 11th, holds on just about from Dion Gauda, Weizke Visser in 13th, then Kai Askey, Callum Williams down in 15th, he's classified as, Alex Powell, Dan Harper, Miguel Costa in 18th place, and further down, Conrad Lawson, Sophia Flörsch, Ollie Rasmussen, and then Logan Cusson, Gus Bowers, Lawrence Van Hopen, Justin Arsenault, Frederick Lubin, and then Alfred Nilsson, who all these guys would be DNFs. I believe that was probably the lap 1 incident that we saw with Conrad Lawson spinning around. So yeah, other than that, plenty of a much better round for these guys. And Zane Maloney with your winner, and we're now going to have a look and see who's going to speak to us. If we believe we've got our top three here, as we have a look, let's gonna go ahead and pull in. We haven't got our race winner, but we have. We'll grab Callan Williams if we can. Callan Williams, welcome to the commentary box. Great race one, but didn't go your way in race two. So how are you feeling about the race overall?
Yeah, not too bad. I mean, the first race was absolutely brilliant. I think getting off to a good start in the first race was absolutely key. And then, second race, I reacted to a light that flickered in the background and jumped the start, so I had a penalty.
Yeah, so obviously the start was so crucial in that one. But can you tell us just what happened in heat race two? Is it just you got run out onto the grass a little bit at the start there? I'm not able to. Seem to have lost Callum Williams there.
Oh, sorry, you got me now?
Yeah, we got you now. So just talk to us about that second race there, because obviously it didn't go anywhere near as well as the first race. Just talk to us about talk us through what happened there.
Yeah, so I reacted to a light in the background and jumped the start, and then had to serve the penalty for that. And then there was the big wreck at turn two, and so I had to go to the inside grass to avoid that, which worked surprisingly. And then following the penalty for the jump start, I was involved in another incident later in the race, and so I was nearly a lap down at this point. And so my focus from there was just to try and get the point for the fastest lap, which hopefully I've got. That's obviously was the aim for that race.
Yeah, and obviously you've got a lot of colleagues from FIA Formula 3 here. How is it racing with them, even though you can't race them? How is it racing with them here in the simulator?
Oh, it's absolutely brilliant. It really keeps your racecraft sharp during this time where we can't race. It's absolutely brilliant to have this simulator software and to have such brilliant leagues being set up for all of us to compete in, because not only is it's great fun for us all and it's competition, but it also keeps us all sharp.
Yeah, so I'll pass you along to Adam, see if he's got anything for you.
Just it's kind of a simple one, or a simpleton one, really. Obviously, you race in the real world. You're used to certain feelings and how your body reacts to how the car's going. You don't have any of that in this, and you literally just have your eyes. How do you adjust to that?
Well, that's just something you sort of have to adjust to, and that comes with a lot of practice. Whenever you step onto or use the simulator for the first time in a while, it always takes a while to get back into it, because obviously, like you said, when you're driving a car in the real world, so much of what you do is based on what you can feel, whereas in the simulator, the only feeling you have is through the steering wheel, as opposed to all of the extra G forces you would otherwise have as well. And so, yeah, you've got to adapt to really feel everything through the wheel and rely on what you can see a lot more. And it certainly is a change, and it does take a while to get used to. But once you get the hang of it, it starts to become second nature, just like feeling the car in reality.
No worries that you'll lose the actual feel of being in a real race car and have to rediscover that when you eventually do start racing again.
Yeah, hopefully not. Hopefully not. But yeah, we'll just see how it goes. I can guarantee absolutely everyone is itching to get going again in the real world. So.
Awesome. Well, that's it from me. They're the two things that I personally wanted to know. Sorry if viewers were hoping for something else, but I got a bit selfish there.
Brilliant. So thanks for joining us, Callan. Just before you head off, is there anyone you give a shout out to?
Sorry, that cut off there. What did you say?
Just before you go, is there anyone you want to give a particular shout out to?
Oh, I'd like to give a shout out to Kokoro for setting up this series. Shout out to iRacing for creating brilliant models for us to race on. And also to my main sponsor, LaserSafe in the real world, who keep me going as well. So among all of the other sponsors as well, and investors and everyone who helps me out. So it's absolutely brilliant.
Brilliant stuff. Thanks for joining us in the commentary box, Callan, and we'll see you on the track next time.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So that was the winner of the first heat race, Callum Williams. We're now going to drag in our second place man from the feature race, Richard Verschoor. Let's see if we can grab him. Richard, welcome to the commentary box. A great race 2 from you, and obviously not the best race 1. So how would you rate your overall performance?
Sorry, not too bad. I mean, obviously it's a shame about the first race. Kellen had a bit better start than I had, so I was in P2, but then unfortunately, yeah, I got a hit from behind. But the second race was good. I don't even know where I started, but I finished P2, so that's not too bad.
Yeah, there appeared to be a bit of contact between yourself and De Vilde and Wilson. So did it look like netcode from your end, or did you mistime your braking a little bit?
No, definitely netcode, but also he was like moving quite aggressively from left to right, and that also creates a bit more netcode. Because I already watched the replay and I didn't touch him.
Fair enough. And obviously, we've got a lot of your colleagues from Formula 3. I asked Callan Williams the same thing as well. How is it racing with the other Formula 3 guys on track here in iRacing?
Well, I prefer to to race with them on the real track now, but obviously it's a good. Well, it's very well organized here, so we can race already, even with the situation currently. So it's good to catch up with them also besides the racing and already learn how they drive.
And obviously, we're all stuck inside because of this coronavirus pandemic. But apart from sim racing, how else have you been passing the time at home?
Um, well, a bit ups and downs. Sometimes I'm quite busy. Some days I'm pretty bored, to be honest. I mean, 1 hour, 1.5 hours of gym every day, and sometimes nothing more. So yeah, sometimes a bit bored.
Seem to have cut off his mic there, unfortunately. But yeah, either way, see if we can get Richard back in. I think he might have
I'm
accidentally
here.
unplugged his mic. Yeah, there we go. We got you back now. We lost you there. So obviously, I'll just pass you along to Adam, see if he's got anything for you now.
Hi, Richard. Congratulations on race 2 there. A good drive from you, even as we said, netcode issues along the way, but still. Now, Jack did say about racing against your Formula 3 competitors. How is it racing against drivers from other walks of racing? We've got GT drivers, we've got Formula. We've got karting, we've got Formula Fords. How is it trying to figure out how they race as well?
Yeah, of course, it's a bit different sometimes. Obviously, some of them are driving in a bit faster car. Some of them are driving in a Formula car instead of a GT, as you said. So yeah, sometimes you can see a bit of difference. But to be honest, I think they're all doing quite well. And yeah, normally the racing is quite fair. Not always, but mostly.
As long as it's competitive, that's the main thing, I guess. And just how
Exactly.
realistic are the other cars in the sim? Compared to what you might have experienced elsewhere. Is it what you would expect? When jumping into a simulator?
Well, obviously the only car I can honestly judge is the F3 because it's the only car I really drove, and for me this feels really good. Yeah, we are used to a bit different F3 nowadays. Like this is the old F3, but for me, yeah, it feels really good, and you can also see that the real racing drivers are up to speed very quickly compared to like the sim racers. So that basically means that the model is very good.
Oh, good to hear. Well, congratulations for tonight. That's all from me, Jack.
Thank you.
Brilliant stuff. Just before you go, Richard, is there anyone that you'd like to give a quick shout out to?
My designer, Bink de Jong.
Good stuff. Right. Great race today, Richard, and we'll see you next time out on track.
Thank you. See you.
See you. And we've just managed to grab Zane Maloney, our race winner. I think he's just joined us in the interview waiting box. Let's grab him in. Zane Maloney, congratulations on the feature race win. How was that from your perspective? We got anything from Zane? I think we've seen to have lost Zane as well. We'll just quickly move him out of the waiting area and see if we can grab in our third place man. Let's grab James Pull. James, sorry if we dragged you out mid-conversation there, but yeah, a really good race in the feature race. Managed to podium there. How was that from your perspective?
Yeah, I'm really happy with it. To be honest, I'm quite surprised that I managed to finish both of the races. Yeah, there's not as much carnage as last week, which is really good. So good job to the guys on improving and taking a big step up. But yeah, I just had to keep my nose clean. I know that in these races, that's the most important thing, just to stay safe and be consistent, keep your nose clean, and always the result will come. So yeah, we had some nice battles too, which was quite fun. It's a shame I couldn't get Richard. I was trying to battle him, and for like 2 or 3 laps, I was having a nice battle with him, and then Frederick got in the mix, and he made quite a big lunge on me, so I took it a bit easy, and I lost like a second, and that meant I was out of Richard's draft, so I couldn't catch up again with only like 2 laps to go. But yeah, I was pretty happy with that. Shame about race 1, but at least I got a good result in race 2.
Yeah, and you mentioned that battle with Richard and Frederick, who are both obviously FIF Formula 3. How is it battling with guys obviously in a totally different discipline to you? How is it battling with those guys on track?
It's surprising. It kind of feels like the old days because I used to race those guys, or not Frederick, but I used to race Richard as well. We did a couple Renault races together, and we did the Toyota Racing Series in New Zealand together. So it was kind of cool because I'm good friends with Richard as well. So it's always good fun to have a battle with your friend. It's a shame that I didn't get to go on top though. So yeah, I don't get that bragging right.
Unfortunate, but I'll pass you along to Adam, see if he's got anything for you now.
Well driven tonight, James. It was good fun watching you. You say you enjoy racing against friends. There's so many talented youngsters on show in this series. You really have to be on it from the word go. Just how tough is it to make moves in this series?
It depends totally on the track. Like this track was quite hard to follow people. You had quite a big aero wash behind them, and a lot of the corners are quite high speed as well, so it made it quite difficult. Same like Silverstone or Barcelona, for example. But it was quite good actually. I mean, everyone was a lot more respectful than last time, so I was really impressed with that. And it's it's not as bad as last weekend to follow, I think. You could see from the broadcast that all of us were basically in a train that entire time. So it was really, really good fun. It kind of felt like we were in karting again, where we're all just in a train and waiting for someone to make a mistake, and everyone's just capitalizing on each other's mistakes, and it made everyone really. We all had to be sat on the edge of our seat because if we made the smallest of errors, it would have been 2 or 3 positions gone. So it was really cool. The challenge and the competition's really high. So it's really nice to be able to be in a series like that where you really are pushed to get every single ounce of pace and ability out of yourself.
And how does that pressure stack up compared to the real world? Like,
Genuinely, like I'm gonna be honest, I genuinely am more nervous and like more jittery on the grid for one of these races than I am in real life. I don't know what it is, but it just genuinely it makes me so nervous getting on one of these.
Now, obviously, we have 2 races. First race is usually pretty hectic. Everyone's kind of feeling each other out, and then we have what we now call the cool down 5 minutes between the races. Is that legitimately what it is, where you just kind of take a breather, just relax, try and refocus, and get ready to go again?
Yeah, it's actually quite a smart thing to do. I've never really seen that been done in an iRacing series, but it is really good because you have a lot of people that get taken out in race 1, and they all they want to do is like go and try and be hectic in the next race. But having that time is actually really useful. It gives you a time to reset, calm down, because everyone's on edge. At the end of a race, everyone wants the best that they can do, and if they didn't have a good race, then people have high emotions. But yeah, it's actually quite smart. I was thinking about this earlier. It was actually a really, really good idea.
Well, I'm glad I asked now. Well,
Yeah.
that's it for me. Well done for tonight. I've
Thank you.
certainly enjoyed watching you. I'm just going to pass you back to Jack.
Brilliant stuff. So before we let you go, James, is there anyone you would like to give a shout out to?
I got to shout out my Twitch chat as always. They're always supporting me and watching every race, even though I'm always getting angry or making mistakes, and I'm annoyed myself. But yeah, Twitch chat. Thank you guys for being here.
Great stuff. So thanks for joining us, James, as always, and best of luck
you.
for the next round.
Yeah, thank you guys for the awesome event, and you guys are doing a really good job. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Take care, guys.
So, if we have time for one more, we might be able to grab Frederick Vesti. Let's have a drag him in. Frederick, welcome to the commentary box. A really intense battle in that last race for the fourth place. How was the race overall for you?
Well, yeah, in general it was pretty good. I did a big mistake in qualifying on the last lap, which will always be the fastest, which was a shame. So I started P8, came back to P3, which was good, and then from P9, 18 I think to P5. I was battling for P3, but yeah, everything was so close and crazy racing. So I just wanted to be sure to finish the race and get the points.
Yeah, we saw you having a really nice battle with obviously Formula 4 driver Zach O'Sullivan. How was it battling with, obviously there's so many drivers from a lot of the junior series underneath Formula 3, like Formula 4 and Formula New Zealand, the Toyota Racing Series in New Zealand. So how is it battling with guys from totally different series to you?
Well, it's really cool. The field is really competitive, which is great because there's drivers from Formula 3, Formula 2, Formula 4, everything, which makes some people are really aggressive, others are less aggressive. So you just have to adapt to the person that you're racing, basically.
Yeah, awesome. And as well, obviously, you've got your colleagues from Formula 3. You've got Callan, you've got Richard. How is it? Obviously, obviously, we all know it'd be better if you're fighting in. But how is it battling with them on track and iRacing?
Well, it's great. It's I can definitely stay sharp like this and just keep improving my driving skills, my racing skills, everything. The racecraft is so important, and even just to put a qualifying lap together is really important. And it's just really good to learn and keep doing it when we can't go racing.
Brilliant stuff. I'll pass you along to Adam now.
Okay.
Hi, Frederick. Well done for this evening. That second race was quite something. It started off relatively quiet for you. You didn't seem to be doing a lot, and all of a sudden, it's like a switch just kind of flicked on, and you were on it. You were setting some serious lap times.
Yeah, basically on the first lap, I got a really good start. I think I overtook like 3 or 4 people in the first into the first corner, but then on the second corner, some guys collided, and I had to go through the grass, and I definitely lost some gap and some positions there. And then it took me a bit of time to get the tires up to the right temperature, but when they came up, I was pretty flying, and I just passed and stayed quite calm throughout the race.
You say about tyres, you must have been reading my mind, because I was going to ask you, how do they feel like compared to the real world? Are they akin to what you'd be used to with a slow warm up, or if you go too aggressive on them, they overheat and start sliding around? How does it feel?
Well, definitely the new tire model in the F3 car and iRacing have done a big step. In real life, you can feel much more what's going on with the tire, if it's too hot or too warm. Too hot or too cold, and if you are over pushing and that kind of thing. In iRacing, it's a lot harder to feel if you're over pushing, but you will just instantly lose grip and lap time if you do a mistake like locking up or wheel spinning. Like it's you feel it straight away and you lose time.
Well, I'm glad. I dabble occasionally in the F3, and I always wondered whether that was whether it really was as close as they say it was. That's great to know. Well, like I say, it's been brilliant watching you this evening. The second race was breathtaking. Congratulations. I'll pass you back to Jack.
Thank you.
Brilliant job. So just before we let you go, Frederick, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out?
Well, I would definitely like to say thank you to the series organizer. I think they're doing a great job. to organize this event, and also to you guys at Apex Racing TV. Like, it's great coverage, and I think that's really good. So thank you for that.
Brilliant. Thank you, Frederick, for joining us in the commentary box, and best of luck for the next round.
Thank you very much.
And that was. Let's see if we have one more. I think we have Zach O'Sullivan. Actually, we are just talking about the battle with Frederick there. Let's grab in Zach O'Sullivan.
Hello.
Zach, welcome to the commentary box. We were just talking to Frederick there, and you had a great battle with him. How was the race over for you?
First race kind of went to plan, to be honest. I was just trying to avoid trouble at the start. Got a good getaway. And then there was an incident, I think on lap 3, that I managed to avoid. And then from there on in, it was a bit of a stalemate, really, between us top 3. Frederick started to gain on me a bit towards the end, but I managed to hold him off. And then obviously, race 2, because of the reverse grid, was always going to be interesting from my point of view. So I think I was P19 at the start, and then ended up having to almost come to a complete stop at turn 2 to avoid the pile-up. But managed to avoid that. And then after that, it was basically just picking one at a time, and try not to make contact.
Great stuff. And we've asked a lot of the F3 guys as well. It's great to have somebody in. How is it fighting with guys who are obviously on in an official FIA series, like guys you could be fighting in the future? How is it battling with guys you may look up to?
Yeah, it's interesting, to be honest, because obviously, as you said, you kind of look up to them. They're a few steps above you in the motorsport ladder. But then again, when you're all on your own simulators and you put the virtual helmet on, everyone's competition, really. So I don't really think about it too much. But it's definitely cool to be racing against those guys, and it definitely mixes it up a bit.
Yeah, obviously we're all stuck inside with the current pandemic. But apart from sim racing, has there been anything else you've been up to pass the time?
Just trying to keep fit and healthy, to be honest, during the time, because I know when we do go back, there's going to be a busy schedule. They're going to be trying to fit as many races in as possible, so I need to be physically ready for that. And then, as you said, a lot of simulator time, really. That's the main thing that's filling my days. But yeah, apart from that, a bit of training and also some schoolwork.
Good stuff. I'll just pass you along to Adam now.
Thanks.
Good evening, Zach. What a great race that was in the second race there. We even saw some wheel banging at times with Frederick. You're certainly not shy of going about getting some moves done, are you?
Yeah, that was interesting. I had a moment a lap before I could have made the move, but it was a bit risky, so I backed off. And then in the end, pressured into a mistake on the second to last lap, and then got alongside, and yeah, we had a bit of wheel banging down into the downhill chicane, which is interesting and good fun, really. Obviously, he was trying to squeeze me to tighten up the corner, and I was trying to squeeze him to open up the corner. So luckily, there was no big contact, and we both made it through and had a good battle on the last lap. So no, I really enjoyed it.
Now, in a simulator, you get to see other drivers who drive in different styles, who go about their racing slightly differently. Have you been able to pick up anything over the past couple of weeks where you've been looking at drivers thinking, oh, actually, you know what, that's not bad. I might give that a go myself. It's only any instances where that's happened?
Very regularly, in fact, because unlike the world of real motorsport, in sim racing you can look at anyone's onboard you really want, and you can really study it. Whereas in real racing, unless they're a teammate, you haven't really got any access to any of their footage or data. So it's been interesting looking at different approaches, especially around this track at Barber. It's so unique. There's so many different lines, and it seems like multiple driving styles can be quick. From what I've seen, the top group all have very different driving styles. And which kind of surprised me considering how close we are. It kind of goes to show that if you were to merge all of them together, I think you could get a best of the best sort of combination, which is what I've been trying to do whilst looking at their onboards.
It's funny you said it. I think I commented earlier saying that fast drivers will be fast. It doesn't matter, they'll always put the lap times in. But it's great watching you in that second race. I'm going to pass you to Alex. Alex has got a question for you.
Okay.
Yeah, hi, Zach. Yeah, I was just wondering as well. Obviously, you guys do a lot of simulator work with your coaches and things like that. But typically it's kind of like it's on your own. That's kind of what you do. They're examining your Motec data and things like that. Saying right, we can shave a bit of time off here, and a bit of general coaching and things like that. I think it's quite unique the situation we find ourselves in right now in terms of you guys getting together as a group. I mean, how valuable actually do you find that having like racecraft testing against other drivers? Obviously, I appreciate it's going to be very difficult moving forward once we get out of this situation. But actually, is this quite valuable to you, to have this? Like, would this be really useful tool before the race?
Say, I, as a driver, have found quite a bit of time during this lockdown period on the simulator, due to the fact the amount of real drivers coming on here. The benchmarks have all been raised quite significantly in your average sort of online lobby races. And in terms of racecraft, obviously real drivers give much less margin for error, and they push you a lot harder than sometimes the simulator drivers would. Which is, yeah, I have definitely gained because obviously, as I said, the bar's been raised higher. I have to push harder to get up there. And if you know, if you are at the front, you're doing a very good job. And it's definitely become harder to be fast. You look at all the world record times are very, very competitive now, and it's hard to get up to the top of those now. So yeah, it's interesting to see how much it's all improved.
Is this perhaps something that maybe you'll take forward into your training in terms of like getting together with like a little group so that you can do some racecraft practice as well from like home rather than just, the one-on-one sessions with the coach?
Yeah, so I've had a bit of coaching, obviously with Kokoro, with the other Kokoro drivers, we do a bit of racing, and a bit of racing with the coaches as well, but it's quite limited because after a while, after you do quite a few races with them, they start to learn the moves you're going to go for, your way
Yeah.
of racing. Whereas I think when you start to race with other drivers you've never raced against in real life, it becomes very difficult because you don't know what their tendencies are, where their strong points, where their weaknesses are. So it's a bit like real life in that sense that you've got to almost play it by ear as you go, and make sure you make the right decisions at the time. Whereas if you were just racing continuously with the same people, you start to almost perhaps be able to predict what they're going to do next.
No, I understand. Oh, no, thank you very much. Yeah, no, it sounds like the sort of getting that mix of sim drivers in there as well could be a useful tool for you guys.
No, yeah, definitely.
Thanks very much. That was all for me. I'll hand you back to Jack.
Brilliant stuff. Just one more thing for you, Zach. Before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to in particular?
Obviously FP0 sim is the simulator, is the sim I'm running. And obviously without them I wouldn't be racing. So that's obviously very, very important. And then obviously to Kokoro Performance. We've done a lot of preparation before the race to make sure I was up to speed, and we will continue throughout the series. So yeah, they're the main two. Thanks.
Brilliant stuff. Well done today, Zach. Great race, and we'll see you next week.
Perfect. Thank you.
Zach O'Sullivan getting an absolute grilling from us there. He did a nice job there. But Zach O'Sullivan with a great podium there. But that's going to be all from us today. Thanks a million for Adam, as always, the box. Thanks to Alex for working hard on the cameras. And we will be back, of course, next week. Make sure to subscribe to the Apex Racing TV to keep up to date with the next round, which is next Friday. And make sure to follow us on Twitter as well. And follow the Kokoro Invitational Series, sponsored by FP0 Simulator. So we hope you all enjoyed the action today. Thank you all for joining us in the YouTube chat. We've been keeping an eye on it the whole way through. And we will see you next week for the third round of the Kokoro Invitational Series. Thank you and good night.